Everybody, Rich here with Prep You Outside the Bunker once again, and this is part two of the deep dive into Illinois House Bill 5855. And this time we're only going to discuss and deep dive into section 24 1.10 manufacture, delivery, or sale of large capacity ammunition feeding devices. Okay, last time we talked about basically the rest of the bill as written and keyed in really on what they considered to be an assault weapon, and if you already own them, what you had to do to keep them legal. The 3 points they talked about was, register, uh, give to an heir, sell out of state, sell to an FFL. Okay, so those were what we discussed in the first one. This one is all about, what do they call it? Feeding devices. So let's get into this. I'm just going to read the bill and we'll stop here and there and talk about it, because there are some key words in here that we really do need to be concerned with. So, all right, here we go. So, section 24 1.10 manufacture, delivery, or sale of large capacity ammunition feeding devices. In this section, large capacity ammunition feeding device means a magazine, belt, drum, feeding strip, or similar device that has a capacity of, or that can be readily restored or converted to accept more than a 10 rounds of ammunition, or any combination of parts from which a device described in paragraph 1 can be assembled. Large capacity ammunition feeding device does not include an attached tubular device designed to accept and capable of operating only with 22 caliber rifle rimfire ammunition. Large capacity ammunition feeding device does not include a tubular magazine that is contained in a lever action firearm or any device that has been made permanently inoperable. Except as provided in subsection C, it is unlawful for any person within this state to knowingly manufacture, deliver, sell, purchase, or possess, or cause to be manufactured, delivered, sold, or purchased in a large capacity ammunition feeding device. This section does not apply to or affect any of the following: peace officers, as defined in 2-13 of the Code, while performing their official duties or while traveling to or from their place of duty. A local law enforcement agency for the purpose of equipping the agency's peace officers as defined in paragraph 1 of this subsection C. Wardens, superintendents, and keepers of prisons, penitentiaries, jails, and other institutions for the detentions of persons accused or convicted of an offense. Remember, does not include members of the armed services or reserve forces of the United States or the Illinois National Guard while their official duties or while traveling to and from their place of duty. Any company that employs armed security officers in this state at a nuclear energy, storage, weapons, or development site or facility regulated by the Federal Nuclear Regulatory Commission, or any other persons employed as an armed security force member at a nuclear energy, storage, weapon, or development site or facility regulated by the Federal Nuclear Regulatory Commission, who has completed the background screening and training mandated by the rules and regulations of the Federal Nuclear Regulatory Commission and while performing official duties. Sale of large capacity ammunition feeding devices to persons authorized under subdivisions 1 through 5 of this subsection C to possess those devices. Okay, so you can sell to those people. Sale or rental of large capacity ammunition feeding devices for blank firing assault weapons and 50 caliber rifles. No persons authorized or permitted, or both authorized and permitted, to acquire these devices for the purpose of rental for use solely as props for motion picture, television, or video production or entertainment event. Sentence: a person who knowingly delivers, sells, purchases or causes to be delivered, sold, or purchased in violation of this section a large capacity ammunition feeding device capable of holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition commits a Class 3 felony for the first violation, a Class 2 felony for the second or subsequent violations, or for delivery or possession of 2 or more of these devices at the same time. Any other violation of this section is a Class A misdemeanor. Section 99, effective date. This act takes effect upon becoming law. So, there you go. There is Section 24-1.10, the manufacture, delivery, or sale of large capacity ammunition feeding devices. Now, when we look at this, there's a couple words in here that are semi-disturbing, and this goes down to the one that basically says that, and it's one word, or possesses. Okay, now it doesn't say what you need to do with those, like, as you know, within the, when we go back to section 24-1.9, which is the assault weapons, as you can hold on to those rifles if you only have magazines that take 10 rounds. Now here's the problem with both that and this section. You can't possess those, so you have to turn in your large capacity magazines, all right? But it also says in here, and I'm going to have to find it exactly where it says it, that, and we've had this discussion with several of you on YouTube, going back and forth, that if a device, even though it's sold with a 10 round magazine, can accept a larger magazine, does that make that firearm illegal? I made the comment about the firearms that I carry. Both have magazines of 8 rounds, but yet you could buy a larger capacity magazine for both those firearms. Does that make that firearm now illegal? That's the question. It doesn't answer that question. It's a very gray area. And it also doesn't say, what do you do with the magazines you have? What do you do if technically the firearms are illegal? What do you do with the firearms? You know, so specifically this one, this section of the new law, again, section 24-1-10, manufacture, delivery, or sale of large capacity ammunition feeding devices, and then it goes down to or possess. Does that make all handguns, other than revolvers, which we're going to separate, does that make all semi-automatic handguns in the state of Illinois illegal? Doesn't answer that question. It doesn't say if a firearm normally takes 8 rounds, sold with a magazine is 8 rounds, yet could accept a magazine larger, does that make that firearm illegal? It doesn't say that, you have to prove that you only have 8 round magazines. So that's a really big question. So if that's the angle they're going for, that would make just about every firearm, specifically handgun owner in the state of Illinois, a felon based on this law. Poorly written, poorly conceived. It basically makes the citizen a sitting duck, because we know that criminals aren't going to turn in their firearms. And I'm sure they're very happy as they read this, because it makes it very hard to understand, which almost brings me to believe that the writers of this didn't expect this really to pass. Well, it'll pass as far as the politicians go, but I don't think it will get past the smell test in the courts, because it leaves it wide open and it leaves you and me vulnerable and defenseless. Now, granted, there are some firearms in here, basically 22s, and lever action rifles that are exempt. Uh, Standard pump shotguns are exempt. Black powder rifles are exempt. Don't think you can use a lot of those, except for the pump shotgun for self-defense. You're certainly not going to use it out on the street. You're going to be totally defenseless there. But for your home, I prefer a shotgun personally. So that's the question. There are more questions when you start reading this bill than there are answers. And I think there's going to be a lot more to this when it does hit the courts. I'm sure it's going to pass. Um, there, I, my firm belief is the Governor Pritzker would be so much happy, would be very happy to be able to get this passed and pushed on the people of Illinois and ride on its coattail all the way to the White House. I think he believes that this is his ticket. There's several things that JB is counting on to get him to the White House. I'm saying it right now on this day that I believe that's what he really wants to do. That's really where he wants to end up. So there are so many questions, and I can't answer those questions, and I know attorneys aren't going to be able to answer this question, and I don't know if judges are going to be able to answer this question. It's just horrible, horrible law. Um, and that's all I can say. Other than that, is I can say, God help us all in the state of Illinois if this holds up in court, because it truly leads to confiscating anything they deem that they want to take. That's what it comes down to. Now, I could be wrong. I could be wrong about, if you have a firearm that takes 8 rounds, I could be wrong that, they're going to say, no, it can accept an extended magazine, so that firearm's no good anymore. I could be wrong. Um, but now that I'm thinking, there are several other rifles that are clear. The Garand is also exempt from this. But anyhow, it also is interesting that they don't specifically, when they talk about private security firms, they talk about private security firms with nuclear regulatory agencies that are protecting them, unless I read this wrong. Let's go back. What they aren't saying is, yeah, I mean, it's local law enforcement, it's people in the jails, it's members of the armed services and reserve forces, and any company that employs armed security officers in this state at nuclear energy. It says nothing about private security. I wonder if politicians know that. Because if it doesn't say anything about private security, their private security are not going to be able to be armed either. So just thought about that and the way it's read. The way it's written, I should say, not the way I read it, the way it's written. It doesn't give private security a pass on this at all. So I don't know what they're going to do. So anyhow, that's it. That's your deep dive part 2 on Illinois House Bill 5855. And like I said earlier, God help us all if this gets through the courts and everything and approved, makes law, and then makes it through the courts. I don't think it will. But thank you for watching. Appreciate it. I know the other one was a little bit long, and it kind of ended it very abruptly, and I apologize that there was kind of an editing issue on my behalf. So, but please, as many of you have recently, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and stick with us. We got a lot more to come. We're going to follow in this bill. Also, you in Michigan, this is coming to your state. Also, Oregon, you already got it. It's about to go into effect in Oregon, and it was passed by 52% of the people, and that's even going to affect hunting there. So very interesting. Probably coming to more and more states near you because certain blue states think they have a mandate now. So good luck to us all, and we'll see you next time. As we always say when we leave, please be careful of your surroundings, no matter where you're at. Also, have plenty of food, whether you shelter in place or bug out, and don't forget your water and don't forget your pets. And please, prep like your life depends on it, because it does. It really does now. Bye.